For this lesson, I'm going to use Mathy's Learning Tools, a great tool for any student. Lots of options, and I am using specifically Notepad. So, area of a rectangle. As you discovered the different rectangles and you realize the relationship between the length and the width. So let's take a look at this. The length of this base of this rectangle is 6, and the height of this, the length of this height is 3. So we could count all these squares, or rectangles in this case, but instead, now that we know the relationship, we can say the area is the length, and we use a lowercase l, times the width, and that's a lowercase w. Sometimes you might see a B for base and an H for height, and it doesn't matter which direction you put the rectangle in. So if we rotated it and the rectangle was this way and it was a 6 and a 3, this could then be our base of the rectangle and the height. So it doesn't matter which one's your length and your width. So we're going to go 6 times 3, and then we know 6 times 3 is 18. Now we have to include something at the end of this, and this is what we call our units squared. And the squared is a little tiny 2 at the top. So if it was centimeters, we would do centimeters squared, or meters squared, or kilometers squared. And it's saying that it's not just one single line, because if it was a single line, like the outside of this rectangle, we could say 6 centimeters long. And we could say this is 3 centimeters high. But now, when we combine them, we're making squares. I know these ones are rectangles, but we're making a two-dimensional shape inside of it. So that's where once we multiply these together, it becomes a squared unit. So now that I've put centimeters, we could say it's 18 centimeters squared. All right, so a quick recap. The relationship is that when we multiply the length and width of a rectangle, it gives us the total area. So area is the amount of space inside the shape, or the amount of space that covers something, like your carpet or the flooring, the paint on the wall. It covers that whole surface. When we write a answer, we always want to have 3 lines. We want to have our formula, we want to have the dimensions, and remember, dimensions are the length and width. So what are the numbers we're working with? Because if you have a whole bunch of shapes, we want to make sure you're picking the right numbers. So you always put your formula the first line, then your dimensions, the numbers, then your answer with the units. These, when we have letters, we call these variables. And what that means is, depending on the shape, it could be a different number. So it's not always the same number depending on what you're looking at. The length of your table is different than the length of your cupboard door. So variables are letters that can change. Okay, so head to the Google link to practice your rectangle, area of rectangle.